All right, so I'm working through this right now. As you can see, I have some of it back together. I've pulled all the ball joints out, put new ball joints in this side, put the knuckle back on, also put a new dust shield and wheel bearing in. Actually, I have a few other parts I got to run upstairs after I get done with this part of the video. I got to get new bushings, they're upstairs. I've also got some new bolts for the wheel bearing, and I also have to check and see if this dust shield's on right. I have two of them, and they're mirrored, and I think I might have the wrong one on this right now. So I think I might have to actually throw this puppy on here. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and do some digging, maybe look at what this was before I took it apart, and you know, perhaps put a different one on there. But you know, I basically have one side, I've got the knuckle back on, all this stuff is new. Yeah, that's pretty much set to go. I got to touch up a little bit of paint that I've been scoring up with my jack stands. Not a big deal, because you know what? This thing looks 100 times better than it did when it came in. So I got some videos, you'll be able to see that. I have new ball joints for the other side. I've got the knuckle is all cleaned up and painted. I've got another wheel bearing. I got to get this all together. So I might swap this axle around so that you can see it a little bit better. I'm gonna go to time lapse, which I didn't do the first time around on this side. It was late at night and I just didn't care at the time. So I'll let you see it this time, and I gotta get rolling on this. So here we go. Yep, so I just did some checking. Sure enough, I got that wrong. So I gotta take this off and then put the other one on because that's upside down. So here we go. Okay, we are jumping in today. I didn't record getting this painted and then also getting the right-hand side that you're looking at right now, the stuff I'm working on. I don't know why I didn't record any of that. It's fine though. But yeah, the interesting thing about this is this was all factory parts, just factory replacement stuff. Really available because they made a ton of Jeeps, and they also made right-hand drive Jeeps that they use for fleet service for post office and stuff like that. So a lot of those vehicles are actually still on the road today, which doesn't make any sense. But you know, they still have pretty good parts availability. Okay, so don't worry about how snug my garage is. Yeah, got the ball joints in, upper and lower. They're all set to go. New hub. It's not new, it's refurbished. It was spray painted after being sandblasted. So yeah, to match the other side, I'm just gonna go ahead and put the brake shield or the dust shield on here, then put the wheel bearing, get that on with the new bolts for it, get the stub shaft in, because this is a two-wheel drive axle, so no axle shaft, as you can see. There's nothing in there, nothing at all. There's just a little plug. That's the point of going over to this, is to get rid of all the weight associated with a differential and all the other stuff. So yeah, basically it's coming together. And yeah, so we're gonna keep going. I'm probably gonna cut the video off here because I don't think you guys need to see any of this stuff. You know how it goes together. You saw the other side, most of the other side anyway. So once I get the dust shield and then the wheel bearing on and then the stub shaft in, this will be pretty much set to go. I'll have to put brakes on it, but I think I might just swap the brakes over from the old axle. And then I got all the steering gear, and I have it all. I've got a new tie rods and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna put those in right this second. I'm gonna wrap this up for the day, I think, once I get the wheel bearing in and the stub shaft and stuff. And then I will, yeah, just call it a night. So it's coming together. Okay guys, so we are pretty much done for now, and you can see here, let me get this in frame. All right, new wheel bearings, new paint, new dust shields, new ball joints, upper and lower, new bushings, both of them, obviously. The only thing you can see, I might actually hit that with some paint, we'll see. That's the stub shaft for two-wheel drive stuff, and yeah, it looks a little scuzzy, but you know, is what it is. So yeah, this side's done too. And yeah, this has been a little bit of a project, not a whole lot that's too crazy in here. So it's come together pretty well, and I'm happy with it. I got to put some steering stuff on here, but I'm going to wait until I actually get this up in the Jeep. I've got it all. I've got the tie rod ends. I've got the T thing, I guess is what they call it. It's been a long time. So anyway, yeah, this is pretty much set. I might touch up, like there's a little bit of a spot here and a little bit of a spot here where the jack stands were. I might also wait till I get that in the car to actually get those touched up as well. We'll see. I'm super happy with how this turned out. It was a little bit of work, but you know what? Didn't put a whole lot of money into the work that I did. Most of the work was just like getting the rust off and then getting it painted up. Oh yeah, just wanna, I gotta find my grease gun and get this stuff greased up, but I wanted to just point these out. These are actually offset. So I'm not sure if you can see it here or not. I'm not even sure what I'm trying to show you because it's not on here. Anyway, you can see from the top they look kind of offset towards the back of the vehicle, and that's because they are offset towards the back of the vehicle. So what I did, oh, you might be able to see it over here. Yeah, look at that. See, so there's a line on them, and it actually shows where you can do camber and caster by adjusting, like by clocking these when you install them. So because we're doing drag and drive stuff with this, what I decided to do was spend like double the amount of money on the camber caster ones, and they provide half a degree of, you can either do camber or caster or some combination depending on how you clock it. So when you're installing them, there's a little template that you put on the axle itself, and then you can go ahead and just like clock how you need. So what I did here is I actually installed them so that the caster, we basically have an extra half a degree of negative caster. So here, I'll show you real quick. If this is the front of the Jeep here, and this is the rear of the Jeep, so normal, you know, your like caster angle, this probably isn't right because it looks like it's already a caster, but like normally you'll have a little bit of caster. Well, the joints that I put in here, the upper ball joint actually provides more caster if you install it such that it provides more caster. So what I did was I installed them with half a degree of negative caster so that they actually lean a little bit further back. So, I mean, I didn't do any calculations on this, but essentially what that theoretically should do is provide a little bit more steering stability at high speed. And the plan is to go about 150 in this Jeep. And so, you know, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, they've got a half degree caster, a 1 degree, and like a 2 degree caster. I wasn't going to town. I wasn't going crazy with it, but I did put in half a degree caster. I figure worst case, we'll be all right. The other thing too is as we lower the car, it's going to change the geometry of the front end. And so it'll be really important for us to be able to measure that and to actually calculate or, you know, measure and see what those the caster values are. But what I wanted to do was just ensure that we were going to be as stable as possible. So went ahead and put the additional caster ball joints on the top. And yeah, I mean, they're installed in the same position, so they should provide the exact same amount on both sides. That's really what I'm concerned about. And, you know, we'll see what happens. Hi guys, good afternoon. It is Sunday. We are working on stuff today. There's a Jeep in here. You probably saw the time lapse of me getting it in. Had to, you know, sweep out the garage a little bit from all the sandblasting and stuff we've been doing. The cars in here, dirt, everything in here is just covered. It's super dirty. So anyway, plan is this thing in here today. I'm gonna get started. Rick is on his way over. He'll be here soon. When he's here, you'll see him on video. So let's get started. The great thing about the Jeep is it is so old school. Even though it's a 2000, all the suspension components are pretty universal. So they would fit in any vehicle from like the 90s or the 80s or even the 70s and 60s. The good thing about that was we could pretty universally find parts, even if they weren't specific to the Jeep. We were able to get things to fit. So the front axle, the front shocks are universal. They just are like a stud mount top, an I mount bottom, and it really expanded our options for what we can use on the front suspension here. Same thing goes for like the springs and some of the other components. So here's just an opposing view. This axle, the old axle coming out, came out pretty easily. It was not really an issue to get out. It was just a matter of getting all the bolts out. But it did have 215,000 miles. So, okay, as you can see, we got the four-wheel drive axle out, and we're probably the only idiots who are un-four-wheel driving a four-wheel drive Jeep. So Rick's taking off the last few bits that we're gonna need. Probably saw in the time lapse we got at least the new axle is on jack stands, and we also have, wait a minute. Okay, so we got the new axle part way in. We got the lower control arm bolts in place, and then we've got the uppers to do there where the polyurethane is. So we'll get that on. I'm hoping I can get those on and then put the springs in. I do not have a spring compressor. We're gonna go roll with the factory springs for now. We definitely need to make some changes, but that'll be part of the rest of the shock upgrade. You probably saw in the time lapse. Yeah, in the time lapse you probably saw a look at the QA1 coilovers that we're looking at. They're not gonna fit exactly the way they are, but we're gonna make them fit. So we're gonna keep rolling on this and try to get it all squared away tonight. Like I said, this is pretty simple, so it's just a matter of pulling out the bolts you don't need to get the old one out, and then putting those bolts back in the new axle. So the rest of this went pretty smoothly, and honestly, probably smoother than I expected it to go. We're not done, but we're finished for the night. Someone forgot some parts, so we could choose to use them off that, but we're not going to. We've got some steering gear that I need to order, and hopefully it'll come in this week, and that's what happened. So I had so many other things to order and get wrapped up in this front axle, but this is how you convert to a two-wheel drive. It's gonna be a little bit dark, but yeah, look at that. Two-wheel drive axle. Because it's a race car. I mean,
because race car.
It's a street car.